Over the course of a handful of videos, I've been taking a look at NECA's Terminator 2 figures. And in this final video, I'll be taking a look at the ultimate version of the T-1000. Now, if you're unsure what I mean by ultimate version, well, that's because NECA originally released these figures in this single carded clamshell packaging, and the articulation on the figures was significantly less. They also usually had less accessories, and about 10 years after their initial release, NECA decided to upgrade these figures with more accessories and much improved articulation, particularly in the legs, because these initial releases usually didn't have a lot of articulation in the legs. They were kind of like mini statues, and the articulation was kept for the upper body. Now, interestingly, NECA wasn't the first company to have a go at doing a highly detailed version of these characters. McFarlane Toys had a good go in the early 2000s, and as we can see here, this was their version of the T-1000. And as we know, of course, the movie Maniacs line were more like mini statues, really. There was some articulation, but it was incredibly limited. But really, the emphasis was on the detail and the style of the figure. And here we can see, obviously, they've opted for quite a dramatic pose of this character, which is quite good and actually could complement the NECA line. But without further ado, we'll take a closer look now at the NECA T-1000 Ultimate version. The packaging design, of course, is in line with the rest of the figures in this series. It is a big, bulky box with a large production shot from the film representing the character on the front there. So this is really nicely designed. I like this. I think this is quite displayable if you place them like this on your shelf. I think it looks pretty good. Meanwhile, the side panel of this chunky packaging is nicely spaced. It's obviously got the Terminator 2 logo and of course one of those images there of the character, which is pretty nice. So again, you can stack these figures up, these boxes together on your shelf, and they look pretty decent when you put them in a lineup. The reverse of the packaging features various photos taken to emulate what we see in the film, and yeah, they look pretty cool, pretty displayable, and there's a little bit of text there as well about the character and the world of Terminator 2. And of course, when we open up that flap on the front cover there, we can see the figure in all his glory inside that window packaging, which looks really, really good, very exciting with all those accessories there. And of course, on the left-hand side, we have a big production photo of the figure that NECA have carefully taken to reproduce the look from the film with the toy, which is brilliant. Meanwhile, the interior inlay or insert that the figure rests in is, in this case, it's taken from the hospital sequence, and yeah, looks pretty cool. So onto the figure itself, and yeah, straight away I think you're going to notice all the little details on this, that it is visually very, very striking. It does feel like this character stepped off the screen onto the toy shelf. The likeness is once again really very, very solid. I think it's one of those areas that NECA just really, really excel at. Their sculpts and their likenesses are uncannily accurate, and this rings true once again. So I think they've done a really good job here, and yeah, I can't really fault it. And as we've come to expect, the detailing in the sculpt for the rest of the body is absolutely fantastic. So we can see lots of little creases, individual buttons, the name tag, lots of detail on the badge, and yeah, a fantastic utility belt with all the various pouches and walkie-talkies and different bits and pieces, and it just looks really top-notch. Now, it's all about the articulation with the ultimate versions of these characters, and yeah, it's pretty fantastic. So, of course, he has the ball jointed neck, so of course he can look right the way around if you want to spin his head all the way around there, and of course he has a really good range of looking up and down as well, which is brilliant. He's got ball jointed shoulders, so the arms kick up and out, which is great, and he has a pin swivel at the elbow, so of course his lower arm can rotate right the way around, and of course it hinges to 90 degrees as well. He's also got a swivel at the wrist, and then another swivel at the waist. Sadly, there's no ab crunch, there's no way to arch his torso forwards or backwards, but this is still pretty decent. He's got the hinged hips, but NECA are really careful to make sure that they hide this articulation so that it looks seamless, and it works fantastically well. The legs also kick forwards, of course, not a huge range of motion, but pretty decent, enough to get him in virtually any position you want to have him in. And of course, he's got a pin swivel at the knee there as well. So just like the arm, it can rotate side to side and up and down as well, which is great. Now, he's got some articulation in the foot, but it really only swivels from side to side. It doesn't really hinge up or down. And as you'd expect, he comes loaded with quite a few accessories, including an alternate head that has been sliced in half, a second head and torso that has all the bullet holes in it, which is brilliant, He's got an alternate gun hand and of course a pistol to go with it. He's then got a pair of extended fingers that turn into those blades, and he has the two blade arms as well, which is pretty brilliant. So I can't imagine what else they could have given him here. This is pretty much everything that you'd want, which is pretty fantastic. As you'd hope, he has no problems holding his weapon, of course. Fits nice and snugly into his hand, looks pretty decent, doesn't look silly or undersized or oversized. It's perfectly sized, and his finger does neatly go through the hole onto the trigger there as well, so it looks pretty solid. And pleasingly, he also has a holster for his weapon there, so you can place that in nice and easily, and it fits pretty snugly in there, which is cool. Now there is actually a little catch that you can pull over to hold it in place, but yeah, that might take a little bit of doing. It does tend to want to pop out. The alternate head with the split down the centre looks pretty creepy and very well done. Again, the paint apps and the mould is just brilliant. And likewise, the finger accessories there look really good as well. And then finally, I love this alternative torso with the bullets in it, and especially that head sculpt with the giant bullet hole is absolutely phenomenal. So I love this to bits. I think the arms are cool extra, but yeah, I think that the torso for me wins it. It just looks fantastic. And there we have it. I have to say, overall, I think this is a pretty fantastic addition to the line. Really, really like what they've done with it. I should probably point out that there actually is an alternate version of this figure. Again, going back to those single-carded days when the figure didn't have the leg articulation, they did one all in silver to create that sort of liquid metal effect. So as far as I know, they didn't do this in the Ultimate line, so they didn't improve this figure and just paint him silver, as far as I know. But just want to let you know that this is out there, and this is kind of a cool thing to get. So if you can track him down, I think he's probably well worth getting. The other variant I wanted to point out was the motorcycle cop version of the T-1000. So again, looking here at the first release with that limited articulation, you can see in the legs there that they don't move at all. But you'll notice, of course, this is a completely different sculpt, completely different jacket, boots, helmet, and even a few different accessories. But good news if you are a fan of this look and this is your preference, or if you're just a completist and you want to make sure that you get everything in the line, because they did do an ultimate version of this look as well. And as you can see, apart from the improved articulation, actually comes with a handful of extra goodies, including obviously that really cool splattered head there, and of course some other bits and pieces as well, which is brilliant. And that, as they say, is that. I have to say, I absolutely love this line. I feel like NECA really just knocked it out of the park. All of these figures are just so incredibly highly detailed. The sculpts are fantastic, and the amount of accessories and the articulation is just pretty much pitch perfect. So this is NECA at the top of their game, really, in my opinion. And what's really nice as well is that it feels like we actually have the whole film represented in just 4 figures. As you can see here, we've got all the major characters, and you know, with the taking into account the various variants and whatnot, you can basically recreate virtually any scene in this film, and that's pretty awesome, pretty fantastic, pretty comprehensive line, and really, really well executed. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, and remember to subscribe, as there'll be plenty more videos soon.